Hello everyone and welcome back to Don't Look Back. It's been a little while since we played it, but it's basically the perfect game for Halloween time. So for October we're returning to it a little bit, starting with the Gourd Reaper. The pumpkin ghost slash pumpkin demon has come to town. In fact, I can read the blurb for it real quick. We have the card here. The Gourd Reaper's name was said 3 times in 3 different mirrors in 3 different houses on All Hallows Eve. It's now bound to this neighbourhood. Now you have to destroy his soul pumpkins before his grim harvest continues. So light, so bright, his soul is bound on Hallows Eve night. That is the setup. On the table we have, before you have to basically just design a neighbourhood in general, so I've tried to do that with what we have available. And the Gourd Reaper is right here. And we're going to cover what he does and whatnot and what we have to do to win and the special rules for this scenario that came in one of the expansion VHS boxes there in a second. So let's just cover that right now. In fact, we have Holden on the left there with his shotgun, we have Max with his baseball bat, we have Ranger Sandy with her pistol, and we have Alice just to give extra movement to people. Kind of try-harding it up a little bit with the character selected this time. And then here is how the killer is set out. This is dictated by the Jack-o'-lanterns story mission, which is what we'll go over in a second. So the Gourd Reaper is a ethereal killer, that's his stats. His MO is direct and he has menacing and unnaturally fast, so he's 2-inch movement extra, and if you want to hit him in combat you have to pass an awareness check first. And his direct, well, the special mission gives him other ways to spawn, but the direct killer just wants to attack the most people as possible. Ethereal killers do more damage based on how scared the person they're attacking is, based on their number of terror points. So the more scared they get, the more damage he does with his secondary attack, and that is very bad. So it'll be a race against time before fear builds up and terror builds up too quickly. So you may have noticed that down the street here we have 3 lights. These are to represent street lights, and they'll be turning on and off as usual every turn. Instead of having to flip the cards, because I think I'm going to have to stand in these a lot to try and keep terror down, when they're off I'm just going to use the skull on the dies here just to denote rather than flip, because as I say, I think models will be standing on them a lot and it's just annoying having to lift them off and then put them back down. So we have a street here with 3 houses, or a bar and 2 houses anyway. One house, and the bar at the top right there. In front of each is a haunted jack-o'-lantern, and as per the mission rules for jack-o'-lanterns, each one has a fright token in contact with each, so that's why they're there as well. If we just go over the special rules beyond the table setup, which we've already done. Smashing pumpkins. Characters may attack the pumpkins with a normal melee attack or a ranged attack, but the ranged attack has a -2 modifier. Each pumpkin has 4 wounds. The goal is to destroy all the pumpkins. Sounds simple, but All Hallows Eve add +2 to fright tokens, so fright tokens are much more likely to move, and we'll get to the point where they always activate much quicker. When a character starts their turn in contact with a pumpkin, they gain 1 terror, which helps the killer do damage to them. Scythe, the Gourd Reaper's attack number 2, which is the one that does more damage based on how scared the target is, hits everyone within 2 instead of just the target. Not that it's probably going to matter, but trick or treat, all exterior doors are unlocked, so if you wanted to run inside a house you could. That's probably not going to come up. The lights we've already covered. The objective, destroy 3 pumpkins, yep, we covered that as well. The last thing to cover, where is it? Grim Harvest, that's the one. When the character destroys a pumpkin, immediately place the killer in contact with the character's back arc and make the attack number 1, which is Unearthly Wail. So even if he hasn't spawned by then, or is on the table, he will teleport to where a pumpkin gets destroyed. So with that, I think we're ready to start. We presumably start in... Actually, I'm not sure where the survivor starts, but either way, I'll get the 4 of them set up. Gourd Reaper does not start on the table, he'll be appearing later. With that, for the first part of this kind of Halloween Return to Don't Look Back, let's get started. So as we get started, there wasn't any special conditions for where the team starts, so I presume it's just the same as for most of the objectives in the core rulebook, which is within 6 inches of the edge of section A, which is the top left, because we've got A, B over there, and then C, D. So presumably that's okay. So I just move one of the cards there to make it look like Ranger Sandy's driven them up here. They're going to try and stop the Gourd Reaper. Now I think for that -2 to fright rolls, what it actually means is when you're doing the token rolls themselves to make it much more likely the Gourd Reaper is going to appear. So presumably the fright roll itself is unchanged, so it's just a D10, and on turn 1 it has to be a 10 to actually activate. That would be a 10. The 0 is a 10. So that does mean they're Moving then, well, or they're going to move. So, we need to roll a d10 again, starting with the one furthest away. So, if we just turn a little bit here, as I get my tripod stuck there, the one at the top left at the bar is, top right, sorry, is the furthest away. We'll roll for that first. So, it's +2 to this, so that's 9. It's here. Immediately conjure a killer and replace the fright token with the killer's model. Once placed, move the killer using its MO. Okay. Well, the Gourd Reaper is appearing immediately right at the top end of the table. Let's roll for the other 2 tokens real quick. 8, 9, 10. That would be it's here again, which means he's enraged. And then this one right here. I just rolled 3 10s in a row. Well, I rolled an 8 and 2 10s. So that means he's enraged again, but that does nothing. So the killer is enraged and spawned in. So right up at the far end of town, the Gourd Reaper has spawned. And he appears from the fright token and moves. So it's not according to his MO. Well, his MO would normally spawn him next to someone, but he started over there. But he still moves towards the largest group of people, and that's everyone because they're all together. He moves d10 +2. Why do I keep rolling? That's 3 10s and an 8 in a row. Okay, so he's moving 12 inches towards the group. That's a great start. Let me just move him 12 inches real quick. Right towards the gang who summoned him. So he is gunning it. Ethereal killers can also go through scenery, it's worth pointing out, so there's nothing to kind of stop him. Well then, so if we just pull back a little bit, he is there, very, very close to my group, and it's now over to my turn. The lights are going to turn off as well, just put the skulls on them as previously stated, and then we've got to start smashing pumpkins. So I was of course forgetting that the killer phase comes after the fright phase, so the killer gets a turn, which means he's moving, and all I ask is I don't roll yet another 10. Otherwise this is going to be a real short video. Well, I didn't roll a 10, I rolled a 9, and he gets +2 to this, so that's an 11-inch move. He's not going to get close enough to attack this turn, I think. Yeah, he's not going to get close. Well, I mean he is close, he's within 2 inches. But that speedy pumpkin demon is now right in my face. Now the lights would flip, and now it's my turn, and we just need to scatter and run away. Okay, well before we start my turn proper to get these people out of here, the first attack on Ethereal Killers is actually range 10. An Ethereal Killer targets all characters within range 10 for damage, 1 injury and 1 point of terror. So actually he's hit everyone for 1 point of each, which is terrifying, but I can't really fight him. I think that's kind of pointless. The goal is to get the pumpkins. So we're going to go with Alice first, that's the cheerleader right here. She is going to double move. And she moves 5 normally, so she's moving 10, and we're going to have to quickly check to see if she trips. If she rolls a 1, thankfully not. I'm rolling nothing but 9s and 10s today. And she's going to make a beeline for the light. No, she can't quite reach the light. So she's going to go this way and say, hello pumpkin demon, goodbye pumpkin demon. And then she's going to make use of her, oh, I grabbed the pumpkin demon by accident. That scythe is getting in the way, something fierce. Then she's going to make use of her rah-rah, no, not her rah-rah, oh no, it was Maxi Abs I was thinking of. He could have dragged her up. Well, either way. Actually, that does matter. Let's move Max first, because then he can pull her forward and essentially give her more movement. So he moves 8. Does he fall over? Nope. So he's moving 8 towards the light. Or rather, the pumpkin over here. Then he uses Baby Blues on Alice, which makes him, well, gives her a free move. I've already done her check, so I'm not going to do another one. So that means in total she can get 15 inches. Because she gets 5 for free, and then she can take her turn and get 10. I'm putting her where the light is switched off currently. That does mean she's right next to a fright token, so she's going to generate more terror next turn, but that's okay. I'll show you where she ended up in a second. Ranger Sandy. She could try and shoot the pumpkin demon. Let's move Holden first of all. He only moves 4 as well. Does he trip on his second move because of his terror? He does not. He's just going to come over here for 8. And then Ranger Sandy is going to move once and shoot the pumpkin demon. That's what she's going to do. She's going to run over to the other squad car. Maybe she's looking for ammo. And her combat is normally pretty decent, 15. But it's -2 because he's ethereal. Or whatever rule it was. So 13 or less. Did get him. And the pistol she's equipped with does 2 injuries. So that's fine. I'll just keep the injury markers on the ethereal card for the Gourd Reaper. Not too shabby. And just for reference, here is where Alice ended up, again hitting the legs of the table there, apologies, right over there in the light. And that's my turn. So as we start turn 2, it wasn't a -2 to the chance to hit the Gourd Reaper, you had to pass an awareness check. I rolled again off camera and it did do it, we just have to take my word for it. So Ranger Sandy did deal 2 damage to him. So we're in the fright phase of turn 2, we have to see if the fright tokens activate. Normally that was on a 6+. Please don't roll a 10. I didn't, again, I rolled a 9, but that's also bad. So the fright token in front of this house first, +2 to this, 6, 7, 8. Puts it at, what was that? Move it 6 inches towards the closest character. The closest character is currently Alice. So it's going to come over here. Oops, note that a little bit. And then there is actually one right in front of Alice, which is in front of this house here. That's a 5 because it's +2, which is the same result. Move 6 towards the closest target. So it's in base to base with Alice, basically. It doesn't cross over to the light, I think, because that makes it despawn. But that's the fright phase done. No new generation. So then we go to the killer phase, and that's the scary part, because the killer is now going to attack, I guess it would be Ranger Sandy. It doesn't really matter what we roll for this, because it's +2, yeah. So it's getting in there. Swoop. Is that in view? You can see the Gourd Reaper charging here. Yep. So first attack is just a wail for 1 flat damage and 1 terror, which is nice. And then let's read this second card. This is the scythe attack that would hit people within 2 inches. The ethereal killer targets the character in base to base with the most terror points. In the case of a tie you can choose. It's combat skill 12. Damage is 0, but you add on a number of points of damage equal to her terror. So currently it would hit her for 2, and it does a minimum of 1. So combat of 12. Let's see. He hits her. That's 2 more wounds on poor Ranger Sandy. Then all the lights flicker back on, which is good because that means Alice won't get scared and removes 1 terror at the top of her turn. So I'll just do that between takes now because we're into my turn. Well, it's time to start smashing pumpkins, if you pardon the pun. So Holden is going to move into the light. He doesn't start his turn in the light, so I don't think he moves a point of terror. But actually, if he moves just once, he'll just be outside the light. That's okay. He'll be just outside the light, and I'm going to have him take a shot at the pumpkin on the porch that you can just see there. With his shotgun, it's a -2 because he's trying to shoot a tiny pumpkin at range. His skill is 12, so it comes down to a 10. It's a flat 50-50 chance, essentially. And he rolls a 10 on the dot. I believe it is equal to or lower than, so that does hit the pumpkin for D5 injuries. So I'll just re-roll a 6. He did 5 and actually destroyed the pumpkin. That I was not expecting. So the pumpkin on this porch has been splorted. It just splats and explodes. Unfortunately, that releases the demon within, and that summons the Gourd Reaper. So let me just remind myself what happens when that happens. When a character destroys a pumpkin, immediately place the killer in combat with his back arc. So the Gourd Reaper teleports and goes, whoosh, phases behind Holden here. And immediately make an attack with attack number 1. Which means everybody within range 10 takes 1 injury and 1 terror. That is everybody still. That's great. The price we pay for doing well. So let's see, that is Ranger Sandy already up to 5 damage. That's very, very bad. Alice is up to 2 damage, 1 terror because she removed terror for being in the light. And I think the fright token doesn't activate as a result as well. Max is up to 2 and 2, and Holden is up to 2 and 2. And then my turn continues, presumably. So Holden's done for the turn, though. That kind of frees up Ranger Sandy to go running, though, doesn't it? Because she would have had to stumble away otherwise. So she's going to run. She's going to move twice. Does she trip, though? Thankfully not. Let's see. 8 inches that way. I'm going to keep her more than 2 away from the rock so we don't have to do a jump scare. She is within 4 of that fright token though, so she's going to get more terror at the top of her next turn, unfortunately. Then Max the Abs is going to move 8 as well towards this house right there. He's currently got 2 terror. Unfortunately he rolled a 1, I know it's on the other side of the tape measure there. So he's going to move his 4 and then try and move his 4 and fall on his face. Hits the dirt, perfect. I think that means he can't use Baby Blues because he's in pain on the floor. So we'll just go with Alice. She moves 10. Does she trip? Would be a 1. Nope, she's fine. And she's going to light hop. She's going to go from one light to the other, even though they're about to switch off. Just use them for cover. And that's going to be my turn, I think. Went with everybody. Holden's in a spot of bother, but I wasn't expecting him to get such a critical shot at range with the shotgun. He only has 1 more shell, I think. Yeah, he's only got 2 ammo. So he only has 1 more. Ranger Sandy's still got 5 in her pistol though, so that's good enough. So turn 3 opens with the fright phase. They activate on a 5+. I finally rolled under the number. Okay, so that means that the fright tokens do not activate and we just go straight into the killer phase. So the killer is going to activate. It is also going to result in all the lights switching off again, so they're going to be switched off for this turn. So I'll just very quickly add the skulls here to indicate that they've been switched off. And both attacks on Holden doesn't need to move really because they're in base to base. Their MO would be targeting the person with the most fear, but I believe being in base to base with someone overwrites that. If it doesn't, it should. So first attack, everyone within 10 inches. I think that's still everybody, you know. Ooh, it's close. I'm going to say Alice isn't, but everybody else is. So that's +1 terror and damage to everybody except Alice, which means Ranger Sandy's at 2, 4, 6 damage. Max is at 3 and 3. Holden is at 3 and 3. That's not good. And then it makes attack number 2. Combat of 12, equal to points of terror, which would be 3. 12 does hit, does 3 wounds. Oh dear, turns out a scythe hurts. Thankfully no one else within 2 inches to also get smacked by it. Okay, that's a big problem, especially because as we start my turn now, Ranger Sandy and Max, actually and Alice, are all going to get 1 point of terror for being within 4 of a fright token, which is very, very bad. I need to think for a second what I'm going to do. Alright, I thought about it. It's not good, but Ranger Sandy is going to move 4 over here, and then she's going to take a breather, which means you can remove 2 injuries or... Actually, I might have that the wrong way around. It's 2 of one or 1 of the other. Let me just double check real quick. Take a breath, 1 terror or 2 injuries. You'd think it'd be the other way around, but no. So she's going to get rid of 2 injuries. Ranger Sandy is. And that's her turn done. Then Max the Abs is just going to stand up and then also take a breather. He's going to remove 2 injuries as well. I think that covers everything. Although he still should have 3 and 5 at this point because of the end of turn attack there. Holden, I mean, I don't know. It's going to stumble away for 2 into the light because the light's going to switch itself on in a second. So does he trip? He doesn't, I think, because for a trip check it has to be under your terror. And he's going to also take a breath, and he's going to remove 2 injuries because otherwise he's dead. He might still be dead actually because he's got 4 terror on him still, and that would be enough to kill him if it gets through. But as I say, if the light turns on, the killer can't touch him. And oh, actually no, the killer moves first though, because it's at the end of the killer turn the light comes on, I think. It is. Oh no. Well, you know, we'll try our best. And last but not least, Alice. She's doing fine, honestly. She's going to move into base to base with the pumpkin close enough to her because she has 5 inches. And then she's also going to take a breath and remove 2 injuries. So she... For the ones that are on the staircase, I'm just counting the entire staircase as being in base to base because the stairs are a little bit shorter than the character bases. But she's in base to base, but she's not attacking the pumpkin. She is instead taking a breather to think about what she's done. And that's my turn. So as we start turn 4, it's actually worth pointing out I've almost ran out of tokens that the game comes with to track injuries and terror. I guess that's the downside to an ethereal killer doing AoE damage. So turn 4, the fright tokens move on a 4+. I did roll a 4, I know that was slightly off camera, apologies. The fright token furthest from anybody, they're basically equidistant. I guess Holden's one is outside of the light slightly, so +2 to this, but it's already 10, so the killer's enraged again. The other one, oh, hit 2 10s in a row, you say. Double enraged, not that that does anything, thankfully. But now here comes the pain. The Gourd Reaper might be about to murder. Let me just switch to the killer face. I know I'm doing this in the right order. Might be about to kill Holden. The light is currently off. Therefore, he is allowed to move into the AoE of it. Don't need to roll for it because he's +2 anyway, and he was less than 2 inches away. He starts off by doing the whale, so that's 1 damage, 1 terror, just flat. No way to defend against that because there's no combat roll. Then he makes his other attack, and if this hits, he's dead. Combat 12, so 12 or less, and he rolled a 10. Holden gets his head chopped off by the Gourd Reaper because that would do damage equal to his terror, which would be 5. That takes him above his wounds. Yeah, I can't even use luck to save him there. Yeah, he is very dead. Got his head chopped off. So I believe this killer savors the moment, or savors the kill, whatever that role's called. Savor the moment, yeah. So someone fell victim. The killer is removed from the table to savor the moment and begin stalking a new target. Return the killer to the table next turn using its MO. Sure. So he fades away anyway, because I wasn't sure if he could stay in the light, because the light's about to switch back on at the end of the killer phase. Well, we're a man down, but we have a chance. So as my turn begins, I've added 1 point of terror to Max and Ranger Sandy and Alice as well, actually, because she's in base to base with a pumpkin. The other 2 are because of the fright token within 4 of them, just so I've done that ahead of time. Things are getting a little bit iffy with how much fear they're building up. The Gourd Reaper is going to be able to hurt them real bad. The lights have turned back on though, and on that note, we're just going to move Max once into the light, so he's protected, and he's going to take a breather, and he's going to get rid of 1 point of, actually no, he'll get rid of 2 wounds. I really shouldn't be letting the terror build up as much as I am, but what can you do? I'll need to double check if just stepping into the light is enough to instantly remove. Let's see, when a character fully moves into the light, remove 1 terror. Oh, it is actually there. I thought it was at the top of their turn. So he's going to remove 1 terror from doing that at least. So there is that. On that note then, Ranger Sandy is going to move into the light here. We'll just push him out of the way a little bit. Which means she instantly removes a point of terror. And then she's going to take a breather again and heal 2 wounds. Unfortunately heating up her turn, but what can you do? And then Alice is going to try and smack the pumpkin with whatever ability she has. She might as well rah-rah herself for +2, because that counters any kind of negative. Oh no, she isn't getting a negative because she's not attacking at range. 1 encourage action per turn. Sure, so her combat is only 8, but the rah-rah will be +2, so it puts her at 10. So 10 or less. She actually did hit it, but presumably it's only for 1 damage because she doesn't have a melee weapon. So yeah, I'm going to assume it's 1 wound. I'll look into that in a second, but that's the end of my turn either way. So turn 5 begins on a 3+, the fright tokens activate. Yes, they do. The furthest away one is in front of this house that you can just see in the foreground there. That becomes a 9. Is that an it's here? 1 moment please. 9, it's here. Immediately conjure the killer. That's kind of better for us than him appearing normally, because he appears next to the most people. But instead, the Gourd Reaper is back down here, and that fright token gets removed. So he's there, but then he immediately gets to move. Unfortunately for him, the light blocks his way, so, well actually we should roll for it in case it's a bad roll. 4, 5, 6, that's still going to put him in base to base with it essentially. Yep. Like almost base to base with it. So then he immediately gets to move, and then it becomes the fright phase. The killer phase rather. He can't get in the light. The light turns off at the end of his turn. So he'd close the distance, he'd be utterly in base to base. I presume he's still allowed to hit them with his whale. That might be wrong, but it's a 10-inch range. So all of them actually, right? That would catch Alice as well. Absolutely. So all 3 of them take 1 wound, 1 terror. getting rid of all that good work I was doing, healing them all, except Holden, who's dead. Yeah, that's getting a bit worrying for Max. He's up at 6 now. So that's the killer phase. All the lights are going to switch off now, and it's over to me. Alright, my turn. I'm going to go with Max, the abs, first. So his 4 inches, is that enough to get to the bottom of the stairs? Yes. So he's going to move over here. He's only moving once, so we don't have to do a trip check. And then for his long action... I think he's going to... Let me just check what his fright is. He's 2 above his fright limit, which means he'd be at a -4 to his skill check. So yeah, he's going to take a breather to get rid of 1 terror. With Alice, for her quick action, she's going to do... What is it called? Let me take a look at that. Remove 2 injury tokens from a friendly character within 2. She's going to heal Max. And then there's a long action. She's going to attack the pumpkin again after rah-rahing herself. And I did check, and it is 1 damage. If you're not equipped with anything that does more, she hits. So that's 2 damage to that pumpkin. It has 2 health left. Oh, she would generate 1 fright from it though. So her fright's getting quite high as well, unfortunately. And then Ranger Sandy. Ranger Sandy, what do you do? Well, first of all, she would get 1 terror from that fright token there. She's getting very high up there. She's at 6. She'll take a shot at the pumpkin. And I'm going to have to use luck, I would imagine, because I can't see this hitting, because she would be minus... Well, she's pretty brave, actually. Yeah, she's only -2 to this, so her combat skill is 13. And she did actually hit, which does 2 damage. Yeah, 2 injuries. So that pumpkin, right here, has splatted as well. That's 2 out of the 3. I'm actually surprised. But that immediately puts the killer in base-to-base with her. So he comes in there. She still has an action left though, but we'll cover that in a second. I think he's allowed to make his attack first, and it is attack number 2. Let me just see here, make doubly sure. No, sorry, it's attack number 1, which is the worst one. It's the whale. Which unfortunately means 1 damage, 1 fear to everybody. Because they're all tightly grouped together. This is bad. Very bad. And that's it. But she still has a quick action, because she did a long action. You know what she could have done? She could have concentrated for +3 to the skill value, but too late now. She can't take a look at that because everyone's too far away from her. I think she's just going to have to be pumpkin distraction and do nothing. She could try and stumble away, actually. Although no, if she stays in the light and the light switches on, the killer has to move. No, we'll leave her there and see what happens. Top of turn 6, the fright tokens always activate now, so we don't need to roll. There is only the 1 on the table at this point. Currently, what does it do? 2, that becomes a 4. Move 6 towards the closest character. I think it stops at the light. Actually, it might not, but then it would get driven out when the light switches on. But either way, it's essentially next to Ranger Sandy. Now comes the important part though, because I think the Gourd Reaper is going to cut Ranger Sandy in half. She's 2 days away from retirement, which she shouldn't have made known to people, because that's basically a death sentence. So he doesn't need to move. He's in base to base. He starts with a whale for +1 terror and damage to all 3 of them, which is ridiculously powerful, if you ask me. So that's 1 blood, 1 stun, 1 blood, 1 stun. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She's still okay, although if he hits her, he does 8 damage. So no, she's not okay. Let's see what happens. He absolutely does hit her and chops her in half. She was a cut above the rest, and now she's just a pile on the floor. Ranger Sandy is out of there. And then he savors a kill though. So, whoop, phases away. And all the lights turn back on with 1 less person on the table. So unfortunately I basically have to take a rest turn here to try and make these 2 recover, otherwise I've got absolutely no chance. So Max is just doing a move into the light, which is on. As soon as he steps into the light, he heals 1 terror. He's using Baby Blues to drag Alice over, which puts her in the light, so she heals 1 terror. This is very important. Then for his long action, he's going to take a look at this, I think. Let me just double check. Sorry, take a breath is what I mean. Take a look at this as a quick action. Well, he can do 2 quick actions actually. Does he want to heal himself or heal Alice? He does 3 injuries with his baseball bat. That's the tricky part. No, he'll take a breath to get rid of one of his terror. Then for Alice's actual turn, she will take a look at that to remove... Oh, that's only injuries though. That could keep him alive. She'll take his 2 injuries away, and then as a long action catch a breath and remove one of her terror. That's unfortunately my turn. They're staying in the light, so for now when the Gourd Reaper appears, he's just going to wail at them. He won't be able to scythe them because he can't touch them when they're in the light. But in this next turn of mine, I have to take that pumpkin out or we're basically done. Alright, turn 7 on this quiet street, the 1 fright token on the map. 8, it becomes a 10, so unfortunately it becomes an it's here. So just like that, he doesn't even get placed for his MO. He comes out of the fright token and gets a free move, which is terrible. It becomes a 5. It's not going to matter because he still gets a turn, and the light is on. So there he is right there. And then it would become his turn. He makes a move. He gets to the light, but he can't touch the light, so he stops there. He wails at them for 1 blood and 1 wound, 1 terror. Oops, I'm putting it on Ranger Sandy's card. If only she was still alive. It was going very well with her before she died. And Max, it's 1 terror, 1 blood. But that's all he can do. At the end of that turn now, the lights switch off. I have to try and do it despite them drowning in terror. They have to destroy it this turn. This is gonna suck. Yeah, this is gonna be real bad. Alright, this is the 1 moment for the rest of your life. Alice is gonna rah-rah Max, so he gets +2 to his next skill check. That's important. Then she is just gonna move into base to base with the final pumpkin, and she needs to hit it. She needs to land a hit. So we have to work out how bad her combat is right now. She's combat 8 normally, but she is 1 over her terror limit, so that means she is 6. Oh dear. 18. That's not going to cut it. She's going to use her luck. She has 1 luck. She actually hit it. Hits it for 1, but still, that means if Max can hit it, he does 3 with the baseball bat, it will actually get destroyed. For Max's turn, but remember he's +2 because that's going to be important. He's moving into base to base with the evil pumpkin. So then we have to work this out, what he's rolling. He's base 10. He is 2 over his fright, which would be -4, but he got rad, so it's actually -2. So he's at 8, and he has 2 luck. 8. He actually did it. He did 3. He shatters the final pumpkin. Come here, pumpkin. It shatters, breaking the curse. And just as the Gourd Reaper is about to swing his scythe at both of them, he just phases through them and vanishes. So there you have it. Ranger Sandy and Holden might have perished, but Max and Alice, now closer than ever, managed to defeat the Gourd Reaper and banish him forever. Definitely forever. No chance of him ever coming back. Oh, wait, what's that? The Gourd Reaper 2? Oh. Well then, in that case, until next time when we see the sequel, I sincerely hope you enjoyed watching this Don't Look Back video, and check out the other ones if you haven't. If you want to support what we do here on the channel, please do consider pressing the thanks button or becoming a channel member. It's all reinvested in the channel. Hope you enjoyed. Happy Halloween. See you next time for more. Until then, ta-ta for now.